And this right here is the kind of moment that fans live for. DeWannaBonner putting up a weak attempt at a shot that didn't even come close, only to get immediately stuffed by Tosh on the follow-up. That sequence alone perfectly captured the energy in Gainbridge Fieldhouse. When you walk back into Indiana after turning your back on the franchise, you don't get a hero's welcome. You get humbled, booed, blocked, and sent back the way you came. It was crystal clear Bonner wasn't welcome here anymore. She may have thought she could just stroll back into town like she still owned the place, but Fever fans weren't having it. Instead of cheers, she was met with a chorus of boos that only grew louder as the night went on. She ended the game with 4 points on 4 shots, and you can call that what it was, instant karma. The real headline of the night wasn't the final score, it was Bonner's failed return. It's almost comical that people were surprised by the boos. This is sports. This is what happens when a player quits on their team. Even Caitlinclark tried to come to Bonner's defense, saying the booing felt distasteful because of Bonner's legacy. But sports don't work like that. You don't get a pass just because you've had a long career. Being a legend doesn't shield you from accountability. No one is questioning Bonner's accomplishments in the WNBA. But come on, after quitting on a team mid-season, you better believe fans are going to let you hear about it. This wasn't random hate. This was reaction. Appropriate, timely, and well-deserved. Personally, I'm not even a regular booer. I don't go out of my way to jeer players. But this was different. This was one of those rare cases where booing was not only acceptable, it was inevitable. Honestly, I've booed people for far less. I've booed my friends for bad jokes. I've booed my doctor for telling me to eat healthier. Heck, I booed my mailman for putting the utility bill on top. So if I can do all that, Fever fans booing DeWannaBonner after the way she exited the team? That's not just fair, it's expected. Wednesday night should have been a redemption arc for Bonner. Instead, it turned into a cautionary tale. She checked in off the bench and was immediately met with a wave of disapproval. This wasn't just a small pocket of fans. It was the whole arena. She got double-blocked by Lexi Hull and Natasha Howard in one humiliating possession, and CaitlinClark, despite being sidelined, was all in, hyping the crowd with every missed shot. It was cinematic. Clark on the sideline, waving her hand after Bonner bricked another attempt, like a maestro conducting a beautiful orchestra of boos. It was a poetic moment. Clark, the young star who never gave up on the team, leading the crowd in support from the sidelines, while the veteran who bailed floundered on the court. Bonner managed just 1 rebound and 4 points in 21 minutes of play, and all the while the Fever, without their superstar rookie, dropped 107 points on Phoenix. When Bonner signed with the Fever in the offseason, fans were genuinely excited. A 2-time WNBA champ and 6-time All-Star? That sounded like the kind of leadership the young squad needed. But what they got was drama. Bonner put up 1 good performance in 6 games, then decided she wasn't happy and wanted out. She didn't stick around to help the team grow. She left. Her reasoning? That she didn't fit into the new offensive system under Stephanie White. Translation: she didn't want to play second fiddle to CaitlinClark. She didn't want to be the veteran leader. She wanted to be the main character. And when that wasn't the case, she checked out. Fever fans didn't forget that. That's why they booed. They weren't booing a career. They were booing a betrayal. Even Caitlinclark's post-game comments, defending Bonner, couldn't change that. She's a legend, Copper said. She didn't say a word to the crowd. But being quiet doesn't erase what happened. Actions have consequences, and when you ask for a trade less than 10 games into the season, you're going to hear about it. The whole Phoenix squad seemed to take issue with the fan reaction, but the Fever players? They stayed above it. Aaliyah Boston, who dropped 22 points and 12 rebounds, didn't even entertain the drama. When asked about the booing, she said, "Honestly, that's got nothing to do with me. That's how you handle it. You focus on the game, get the win, and move on." The best part of the night was how perfectly it all lined up. The Fever dominated. Ari McDonald scored 27. Sophie Cunningham added 12. The crowd stayed loud. The karma was delivered. And Bonner? She looked completely out of place. The same crowd she once hoped would cheer for her instead became her biggest critics. Midway through the third quarter, Lexi Hull, who had taken Bonner's starting spot, locked her down in the post. Bonner got blocked again, this time by Natasha Howard. Shot clock violation. Timeout. Embarrassment. All of it unfolding while Clark was hyping up the crowd like they'd just won a championship. Even Alyssa Thomas got in on the theatrics, chirping back at fans who were letting Bonner have it. But it didn't matter. Indiana had already decided what kind of night it was going to be. Bonner didn't react to the crowd, but she didn't need to. Her stat line did the talking. 4 points in a 107-101 loss. That's not exactly a triumphant return. Even Phoenix's coach tried to downplay the situation, calling the booing unnecessary. But let's be real, this was never about disrespect. It was about accountability. Bonner made a choice, and Indiana made sure she remembered it. Social media lit up after the game, with fans praising the Fever for playing hard and staying locked in. Hollywood Buzzing called it one of the most satisfying karma moments in recent WNBA history, and they weren't wrong. The numbers tell the story. Bonner averaged career-low stats during her short stint in Indiana and then left when the going got tough. Meanwhile, players like Lexi Hull stepped up and delivered. CaitlinClark, despite being sidelined, played her role to perfection, staying engaged, supporting teammates, and energizing the crowd. That's what you want from a franchise cornerstone. Players who stayed and bought into the culture are thriving. The Fever are building something real, something sustainable, and it's built around players who want to be there. Bonner couldn't accept a supporting role, so she walked. And when she walked back into the building in another uniform, she learned exactly how fans felt about it. It wasn't mean. It wasn't out of bounds. It was sports. You don't get to quit on a team and expect hugs when you return. That's not how any of this works. While Bonner struggled to find her rhythm, players who embraced the grind were lighting it up. McDonald's 27 points, Boston's 22 and 12, Cunningham's efficient shooting. All of it added up to a dominant team win. The Fever didn't just beat the Mercury. They sent a message. Organizational culture matters. The contrast couldn't be clearer. One team is filled with players committed to something bigger than themselves. The other is defending a player who quit. That's not a winning formula. Bonner's poor performance and the Mercury's loss weren't just isolated events. They were reflections of larger truths. When you prioritize ego over team, you lose. When you stay the course, trust the process, and play together, you win. That's what Wednesday night was all about. It wasn't about one player. It was about what happens when loyalty is valued and disloyalty is remembered. Bonner's return wasn't triumphant. It was awkward, anticlimactic, and filled with reminders of what could have been if she had just stayed the course. Indiana's fans proved that they don't forget, and the Fever proved that they're better off without her.